loud. So good morning, everybody. I'm actually starting the presentation that is going to be, after that we're going to have a workshop. Even if you're not registered to the workshop, you can come. You can learn about what we are doing. I've been trying to do that for many, many years. It's a difficult task, and there are a lot of quotes about how many of you, probably all of you, heard about how many of you heard about formal verification. Seems like most of you. Good. So formal verification is actually a field of computer science which has been around for many, many years, actually going back to Turing. But getting formal verification to work is very, very hard. There are a lot of saying why formal verification will never work. Today, I'm going to try to explain you why formal verification will work. And I want to encourage you to come to the workshop and try our tool, which is available for free. And also there is a white paper that actually you can read about the technology that we implemented in Certora. There are different branches of formal verification. I want to tell you about what we implemented in Certora. I use here a very nice quote by Knus of sort of automation. One of the questions about formal verification, make it easier so that people can use it. Certora is actually quite a large company, and one of the reasons that we believe that we can make formal verification to work is that we actually assemble, I think, a fantastic team of researchers and security engineers, and basically these people have PhD in formal verification and in static analysis. These are two areas of computer science, and they are using their wisdom in order to build these tools that everybody can use. We are completely global. We have large presence in Seattle, in the Europe, and in Israel, and we are actively hiring. We also have, and some of the people are here, we have the people who are DeFi experts who basically are helping us to basically make these techniques available for smart contract and for securing this system. And here I want to point at Uri Kirsten, who is here, and actually Sasha, who is going to run the workshop, and also Sophia, who is outside. Please talk to us. We are really interested to secure this thing, and especially now in the bear market, it's very important to secure the code. And we're going to help people, whether they can afford or they cannot afford, we can help you secure your code. And this is a technology that you can use before the audit, after the audit, and it's complementary. By the way, I'm very happy if I can get questions during the talk, but it's possible also to get them after the talk. So the pain point addressed by Certora has actually nothing to do with Web 3. It's actually for Web 2. And the technology that we are building could be used also for Web 2. It's a generic technology for checking your code. And it's new in Web 3, it's also new in Web 2. And the reason why we are so motivated by the domain of smart contract, because here you have small code with high value. And there's a lot of scaling issues has to do with formal verification. So for us, it's kind of the perfect domain for these kind of techniques. And we understand that the problem is not just technology. The problem is also the knowledge of how to use the thing, but also it's a problem of the technology. If you look into existing tools, they are limited. And this is where Certora is trying to innovate. We are trying to build tools which assist humans to secure their code. So I'm sure you know all of these. So these are many hacks, and these are only the recent hacks. And I want to, of course, everybody knows the Nomad bridge. Basically, it's a small change in the code, which is actually particularly people stole a lot of money. I also want to point out Compound, and Compound is very interesting for Certora because the Compound code, before it was deployed, it was checked by Certora. But what happened, people changed the code after it was deployed without using Certora. And as a result, a lot of money was lost. So we think that formal verification has to be performed every time the code is changed. And this is how we build this technology. So in this domain, there are kind of 4 tools. Unfortunately, because it's PDF, you see this thing, but there are kind of 4 tools to be used, and they are all very interesting. So tomorrow, you're going to hear, I think, from Gustavo. I don't know, Gustavo must be here, but he's not here. Maybe he's going to come later. So tomorrow, you're going to hear about fuzzing. There are very nice fuzzing tools, both in Web 2 and in Web 3. In Web 3, there's Foundry, there's Echidna. And these tools, what they do, they basically do some kind of a random testing, so to speak. They check behaviors. And they are very easy to use. You are encouraged to use them. But the problem is it's very hard for them to find bugs which are rare. And that's why I'll show you some bugs that is very hard, especially if these bugs happen long time from the initial state. It's very hard to find them. The other method is static analysis, also useful. It's basically give you more coverage than fuzzing sometimes, but harder to use because it has this idea that you have false positive and false negative. And what we are talking today is what's called formal verification. So formal verification gives you more guarantee for the correctness, but it's more expensive. And it depends what kind of expensive. There are 2 branches of formal verification, automatic and manual, and they both have their advantages. Automatic formal verification done by Certora and done by others, in particular Microsoft, the idea is that you take the code and you compile it into a formula. And this is actually, then there is a solver, and the solver either finds a bug or proves the absence of bug. So that's one branch. This is the branch that we are doing, and this is what you're going to see. And automatic verification formal verification is great when it works, but it can fail. And the other branch is called proof assistant. There's tools like K, Core, Clean, for example, company like counter verification. The idea is that the human is doing the formal verification. So the human, of course, is very powerful, but then you need a lot of human power to do that. And usually what happens when you work in a tool like K or Cork, you basically extract your code automatically. So you don't reason about the code, you reason about the design. In Certora, you reason about the code. Questions so far? All is good. So just to sort of show you where Certora is in terms of other tools, and again, I'm not just talking here about Web 3. I'm talking about Web 3 and Web 2. So you see on the right-hand side, you see these easy-to-use tools, Foundry, MeetX, Echidna, Manticore in Web 3, in Slither, but there are also tools in Web 2. And on the left-hand side, you see these are generic technology that has been around in formal verification for a long time. In particular, I want to point out the Cork system was developed in Europe. It's a fantastic system, actually, I think now used a bit by the Ethereum Foundation. It's basically a tool for interactive term prover. This is very powerful, but it requires PhD per smart contract. Okay? And the other approach, this is where Certora is trying to do, and you can judge based on your workshop, is to be somewhere in the middle. We want to be almost as expressive as these tools, and I think we are there, especially if you compare to Daphne. But we want to be easier to use, maybe not as easy as Foundry, but somewhere in the middle. And you will see it requires more effort, but it's essentially very similar. And we want to give it the similar feeling like unit testing. So you write these specs and you check them. So what do we do in Certora? So first we have a language that you will learn about today. It's called CVL. It's not a programming language, it's a declarative language. It's a language where you declare your invariant, you declare what you want this property to hold. And then we are building technology to check it. And we are building 3 types of technology. One which is proprietary, this is a Certora Prover. It's basically a technology to check your code and either find bugs or prove the absence. And the other one is Gambit, this open source, which is available soon, is for checking the CVL themselves, checking the properties. And basically what we do, we have a tool for checking that your specs are okay. And also we are building Foresight, we are building a monitoring tool for the CVL. So all of this is being developed by Certora. Today we're going to talk about the first one, the Certora Prover. So the most important things about formal verification, whether manual or automatic, and also about fuzzing, is invariance. You have to tell something about your code to make this formal verification useful. And the idea is that we want to tell some property that we expect to always hold. So for example, that the color of the sea is blue, or the bank always wins. And it depending who you want, this actually goes back even before computer science. Even Aristotle was saying it, but in computer science, there was this scientist called Dijkstra, and Dijkstra actually is famous for sort of, how many of you know Dijkstra? Few, okay, quite a few. So Dijkstra is actually notorious for saying that you don't start writing your program before you start your writing environment. I think it's a bit exaggerated. It's hard to write invariant, but we want you to write invariant and then use Certora to check. So what does Certora have? Certora has a tool. On the one hand, you put your invariant, and on the other hand, you put the code, and you get either proof or you get a bug. But since we are working in a domain which is hard, unfortunately, there are cases that the tool fails because its code is complicated. And in this case, the tool will time out. This basically means that the tool didn't find a bug and didn't prove the absence of bug. And this always happens because, and it always may happen, because actually we are talking about a problem which is computationally expensive. So it's always the case that it can fail. And this is why Certora is trying to do things which are clever, to reason about numerics, to do all kinds of things to actually eliminate these failures. And this is like a tiny example to show you. I'm sure you have seen in some kind of a simple bug. So here there is a bug on a transfer code. You're transferring to yourself, and you see the Certora is able to find this bug. And it's finding this bug because it violates the invariant. In this case, the invariant says that the total is equal to the sum of the balance. So this is found by the Certora Prover. And if you correct the code, in this case it's a similar code, in fact it can give you a mathematical proof that the sum of the balance before is equal to the sum of the balance after. So it can give you a mathematical proof that the sum of the balance is maintained. And there are different tools to do this invariant. The simplest tools, Daphne, Boogie, SMT Checker, Viper, they're all open source. What they do is that they take your code and convert it to SMT constraint. They convert it into a mathematical formula, and the solution to this formula, they indicate the bugs. And if you see that there are no solution to the formula, it means there are no bugs. So this is basically what happened. You see, this is how the Certora works. If you want to think about it in a nutshell, this is what happened. You take the code and you convert it to math. And you see that the left and the right-hand side is similar, but the right-hand side is more abstract. For example, in the left-hand side, you have a 256 integer. In the right-hand side, you have unbounded integer. And basically, the tool knows how to reason about unbounded integer, and it can know how to prove properties, mathematical properties of integer. And that's what the tool does under the hood.
Yeah.
Okay, so and this is also common, many tools, SMT Checker, others. But what Certora does, which is more than other tools, it builds a lot of technology, and this is where we use our insight. We are doing a lot of things to reason about financial systems, and we are doing a lot of things to make this formal verification more scalable. When you have more contract, when you have contract calling each other, and these are the case that this tool, and you can measure. You can run this, and you can check SMT Checker. You see when does this tool succeed, and when the other tools succeed. And you can see that our tools succeed in cases that many other tools fail. When you have access to memory, when you have nonlinear arithmetic, and these are common in financial systems. So you see, this is the tool. It's fairly complex, but it's basically a piece of code, which is a lot of code and base. And what it does, originally there is the compiler going from the Solidity to the EVM. This, of course, by the Solidity compiler. Then we have a decompiler. The decompiler takes the code and converts it into our own internal representation, which is called TAC. And we also compile the invariant into TAC. And there we do a lot of things. We do clever static analysis to simplify the code, to make it so that it's easier for the tool to analyze. And there we are actually enforcing invariant on the code which is generated by the compiler. And in fact, this is very useful for us because probably many of you know, this way we find bugs in the Solidity compiler itself. And we are reporting it. And of course, they are acknowledged by the Solidity team. So we are automatically finding bugs in the Solidity compiler itself. And then we convert to the SMT, and there we have a lot of things. We have a fantastic group in Europe led by Jaroslav Benedict. And basically what they do this thing to make the complexity of reasoning simpler. And we do all of it to make this tool useful. And this tool now, in few minutes, it can find bugs which are missed in many years, which is, I think it's fantastic application for this field. So here is one related to here. So Kurt Berry from Maker team, he actually used the tool and he wrote a fantastic invariant which actually I'll show you the invariant, but the invariant actually says that the coin is stable. And the tool actually found the case that the coin is not stable. And this is a bug which has actually been in the code for 4 years. And it went to audit. Actually, it went to audit, so it found a corner case. And that's where this technique is useful, finding these corner cases. Finding corner cases, and these corner cases and here, what you see is that there is an invariant. It's fairly tricky, but basically it's saying that you have enough, basically the one-to-one between the token and the value. And you see the tool finds that one of the functions, in this case init, it violates the invariant in certain situation. And this is a rare scenario. This is a rare scenario and it's automatically found by the tool. And once you fix the code, you can run the tool and it will tell you that the invariant holds. Okay, and this is what we do. I want to give you another example of an even more cute bug, even not 4 years old. It's a younger bug. But the idea is here you have the sushi, but actually it's basically every time you have some kind of exchange, you have two tokens, say token A and token B, and the product is 1,000. And now you want to buy 50 tokens, 50 B tokens. So what happened? Now you have 150 and 66 tokens. Why is that? Can you tell me? Why is this? So basically the idea is that you maintain the fact that the multiplication of the tokens is constant. And that's basically what's implemented here. So basically every time you change, you maintain the invariant that the multiplication of the tokens remain constant. So this is fairly simple and it seems like it's an easy thing and it's easy to get right. But guess what? It's wrong. Okay? And it's wrong in a tricky case. So here there is this function called Bern single. I'm not going to be able to explain to you. I'm not a Solidity expert, but what happened here is that the API is not used in the right way. So basically, this is not using the reserve and it's using the message sender. So it's something which is not used right in the API. And then the result, there is a tricky bug here. And this bug actually slips through audit. And what happened in this bug? The invariant is broken. And the invariant actually is very simple. It's not even the multiplication. It says that if token A is greater than 0, then token B is greater than 0. And you see, it's broken by this Bern single. And if you can, basically what happened is that basically Alice can burn a holding. And you can ask yourself, what's the significance of this bug? So in fact, the significance of this bug that you can take the money from the sushi and deplete it. It means there is a rare situation, and I'm showing you here. You see Alice deposit, Bob deposit, then you do the transfer, then you do this Bern single, and then you swap one token and you get all the money. So basically Bob was left in nothing. And this is a bug which was prevented by our tool before the code was deployed. And I think that's a very good use case of formal verification, is finding bugs before the code are deployed. You can also apply it after the code is deployed. But finding the bugs before the code is deployed is a very good use case of this technology. So I think I'm almost done. I want to basically just wrap and tell you a few things about formal verification. I've been working on this field for a long time. I think there are, and of course I want to acknowledge formal verification is a field of computer science with many, many fantastic people. I already mentioned Dijkstra, but also Tony Hoare, who's basically inspired this field, Robin Milner, Amir Pnoeli, all of them have Turing Award, which is the highest prize in computer science. But formal verification, people have tried to apply it, and they try to apply it. Maybe the only sort of good success is in formally verifying hardware systems. And many things that apply to hardware systems also apply to smart contracts. In some sense, smart contracts are similar to hard systems because once you upload the code, it's immutable. So what happened is that the biggest sort of value for formal verification, and that's very clear, is actually not just proof, it's bugs. And that's what I try to show you here. Another thing which is somehow a myth about formal verification is a computationally hard problem, usually called undecidable or other things. But it is, of course, a computationally hard problem. But the harder things about formal verification is writing the invariant. And that's why we want you to learn about writing the invariant, and we want you to write the invariant as part of the development procedure. Another thing which is a myth about formal verification is people think that you actually have to verify everything that you execute. But in fact, one of the things which is a bit surprising about formal verification, that sometimes you can do much more scalable formal verification by abstraction, by basically conservatively assuming many things about what you execute. And maybe the easiest thing to think of abstraction is procedures, or if you have one contract calling another contract. You don't actually need to analyze the other contract. You can have some kind of specification what this contract means, and then you prove once that the contract adheres to the specification, and also when you code. Another thing, and that's probably very common in Web3, that people think that formal verification will replace auditing. That's not the case, and it's not our intention. There's the human and there's the machine, and they are complementary. We have auditing finding bugs after us because we didn't have the right specification, because we simplified the code. There are many things. Formal verification improves auditing. That's a much thing. It makes the ideas that the human here can help us. For example, we have auditors pointing out bugs in our specification, which is of course useful. So formal verification and auditing, they work together and they improve each other. And maybe the last sort of the myth, and I think this is related to shift left. The idea is that people think that formal verification, we ask our customer, they say, oh, we heard many, many good things about you, but we are not ready yet. So the answer is that you always apply formal verification as early as you can, because you're going to find more bugs. It's going to be cheaper for you. It's going to be easier for you. It's like starting formal verification late. It's like diet or other things. You don't want to do that. You want to start early. And you want to use fuzzer, you want to use our tool, you want to use static, but use tools as early as you can. Using them later will be harder. I think I'm done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm ready to take questions.
Thank you. So we don't have that much time for questions. We have something like 2 minutes. Any questions for Mooly? Maybe I have a quick question. So you mentioned that you can use Certora Prover to find vulnerabilities in code that is already deployed. How easy would it be for a black hat to use this tool and identify vulnerabilities that have been there for 4 years that people don't know about and then exploit them?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So the question of Emily is that can we actually use it as a loaded gun? Can we actually use Certora? And the answer is yes. Unfortunately, you can. And people, we are trying to monitor the way people are using our tool, but we have limited resources. But yes, At the moment, the machine that you are running on the cloud, it has a limited power, but yes, we can find bugs, and this bug may or may not be real, but the exploiter can do it. We are trying to avoid it, and one way to avoid it is to apply it to as many code as we can. And I can tell you, at least Certora, we have found few bugs in deployed code, and of course we acted in a reasonable way. We contacted the developer, and we have actually found huge bugs, and we contacted the developers, and we have a disclosure policy. So if we find, but yes, you can use even the tool. If you are in the workshop today, you can see that you can use the tool to find bugs in existing code. That's part of the fact that this is a tool. It's not. It doesn't know, and at the moment it doesn't know that you are. Maybe we can think of other technology, not ours, to see that you own the code or something. But at the moment, you just give it a Solidity file. Or actually, it doesn't need a Solidity file. It can run on the EVM. It can run on the bytecode. It can run on the deployed code. And you write the property, and it gives you the violation.
All right, so better be safe before deploying, I guess. Thank you. Some more questions? Well, thanks a lot, Mooly.
Thank you. There is in the other room, there is a workshop, and also we are running a nice running event tomorrow at 4:30. You can also walk. It's coming from here, from the hotel. Please come. Very fun. At 4:30, there's walk, and there is one. It's 5K.
Yeah. Sports and security. So thank you so much. Yeah, indeed. So like he said, so there's going to be a workshop at 10:45 in the loft, the reverse bug bounty with Certora. So learn.
If you find bugs there, you get money. So that's.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, and see you then at 10:45.